Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we'll be discussing whether or not Roadhog actually fits the tank role. We'll be talking about people's misconceptions about hero categories and how to be more creative with your team's comp once you understand how to look at a hero's value rather than preconceptions about them. Is Roadhog a tank? Well, this is an interesting mental exercise. Does Roadhog qualify as a tank? Of course he is, I hear you yell. He's in the tank section of the hero select screen. Well, as if we needed further proof on the channel that the categories are not fit for purpose, I contend that he is not in fact a tank, but rather a DPS with a tank health pool. So what's my argument for this preposterous assertion? Well, Roadhog doesn't do what a tank should do in the traditional sense. Every other tank has some sort of shielding, some way of either protecting themselves and their teammates. D.Va, Winston, Zarya, and of course Reinhardt all do this to varying degrees and with different abilities. Roadhog does not, and why is this important? Well, remember that video where I recommended you learn characters by skill set instead of category? This is why. I'm of the opinion that what a hero has the capacity to do and the skill set required to play them properly defines their role. So let's take a closer look at Roadhog and identify what he actually does. Hook all the things! Right, let's get this out of the way. The single most important part of Roadhog's kit and the source of almost his entire value is his hook. It's an ability that lets you grab someone from range and bring them in for a likely instant kill. But not any target, not another tank, no. He can hook and instantly kill squishy targets in particular. That's who you should be hooking, flankers, healers and DPS. The fact is, Roadhog's skill set and abilities make him the perfect choice for crowd control. That's what he does. He takes care of single important targets with focused DPS. His heals are only to keep himself alive, they don't help anybody else. I'd argue that Roadhog is the best answer to a good Genji or Tracer, something he has more in common with McCree and Mei than other tanks. What other tank can you say, I'll pick this guy to make sure that target dies? None of them, not really. Even D.Va is more harassed than targeted DPS if you play her offensively, and Winston is used to dive healers and squishies, but he does cleave damage. His role is disruption, with frags being a great bonus. Roadhog doesn't shield, he assassinates. He's a DPS with tank health. Value informs role. So what this says to me is that there is a direct link between a character's value and the role that they should play. I made this argument that Zen isn't really a healer. Sure, he can heal a little, but it's not where his true value lies. So if Roadhog's primary value is in doing damage to specific targets, should you pick him to fulfill the role of a tank? The answer is no, because he isn't one. There's actually quite a lot to unpack here, as this issue is central to building comps effectively. It sounds obvious, but it isn't to a lot of people. You can only really start to understand how to build a synergistic comp when you ignore the categories and look at the skill sets you want to combine into an effective strat or a collection of exploitable synergies. So with that said, just because he isn't a tank does not mean that picking him alongside an actual tank is bad. It just has to be for a reason and has to be compensated for in the other picks. Part of the problem is the community's fixation on playing 2-2-2 as default. Now that's not bad as a default, but it can be poor at dealing with specific setups. I don't think there's a better answer in the game to crowd control problems other than Roadhog. I think a Roadhog played properly can totally focus on ruining a Genji's fun, and Tracer for that matter. But one thing that quite often happens is that a team will have two DPS already selected, this is solo queue after all, and Roadhog will be picked with them because the player picking him doesn't really want to play a tank or doesn't know how to. So they just pick someone who does damage and can heal themselves. This is a bad way to pick him. But it could work, right? They could have a Genji or a Tracer, or they could not. Or the Roadhog doesn't hit a high percentage of hooks on squishy targets. The amount of times I've seen solo queue Roadhogs hooking tanks and wasting his value is too many to count. My point is, picking your hero should be based on the value they have and the knowledge of how to best utilize it. In the best case scenario, knowledge of how to combine that value with other members of your team to do specific things. So what does Roadhog's value and skill set tell us? He's not a tank. And if you already have two DPS, probably should pick someone that can actually do a tank's job, if that's what you need, building comps by value. So what's the real lesson here? Well, if you want to learn how to make good picks or make comps that can work for a specific challenge, the secret is knowing what heroes actually do, not what category they're in and how they then fit together. Ignore the game when it tells you that your comp is bad. If you're thinking about your hero choice and making an effort to combine for synergy, the tips can be damned. I guess what I'm saying is, it's easy to just say, we don't have to play 2-2-2, but it's much harder to know why, and it's okay if you don't know that. Everyone learns these things via a different road. That was awful, I apologise. But the first step is understanding concepts like, Roadhog is not a tank. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like. If you want us to cover anything specific, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time,